Thank you for joining in the PGPpro Career Series session today. We are here to talk. We actually have 3 alums today, alum interaction series, which we have usually for to help all the participants, all of you who have joined in the program today, to help you give perspectives about PGPpro program from the point of view of the participants who have already been through that journey. So before we move ahead in the session, I just want to, set up a few ground rules so that we can have a, very smooth session. At the moment, all the participants who have joined, you don't have the access to unmute yourself. That is just to make sure that, we have clear audio for everyone. But we will have an interactive session in the second half of the session today wherein you will be able to ask questions to all the panelists today. So please keep a note of your questions. If those are not answered during the discussion, we will take it up during the Q&A session of the session today. Another thing is, if you can switch on your videos, that would be great. If you can't, that's all right, so that we can also see the participants today. Yeah. So with that, without any further ado, let us get started with the PGPpro Career Series alum interaction session today. Just to set the context and introduce myself as well. My name is Amrita and I manage admissions for PGPpro at Indian School of Business. And I am joined by my colleague, Ms. Smriti, who also manages admissions for PGPpro at ISB. PGPpro expands to postgraduate program in management for working professionals. It's an e-MBA equivalent offering of ISB. Which is designed specially for working professionals, for mid to senior level professionals who do not want to take a break in their careers and still want to pursue management education. So it's a program which is designed to cater to nurturing leadership, in its students and creating future global leaders. And it's a general management program for 18 months offered in 4 cities, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, and Hyderabad. And this is just to help you understand what the program is about. It's designed for people, as I said, for mid to senior level professionals. So it requires a minimum work experience of 5 years to apply into the program, wherein the average work experience usually hovers 10, 11 years. There is no upper cap. So again, this was just to help you understand the basic context. And with that, we move on to the main session, the most awaited session that we are having, I think, in this round of application cycle that we have opened. And with that, I would like to invite, or rather welcome, 3 alumni of ISB from the PGPpro programs who have agreed to be with us today. Aditya Shah from the class of 2020, Ayushi Jaiswal from the class of 2022, and Paramveer Singh from the class of 2019. So a very warm welcome to all of the participants and a very warm welcome to all the panelists today. And with that, I think it will be better if all of you give a little bit of information about yourself, about your background. What are you doing right now, all the panelists, so that our participants can also have a deeper understanding and be more relatable. So starting with Aditya, Ayushi, and then Paramveer. Over to you, Aditya. If you could share a little bit about yourself and your background at the moment. Aditya, you might want to unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Amrita. Hi, everyone. Good morning, and thank you so much for taking out time today on a Saturday morning. And thanks, Amrita and the ISB team for arranging this session. So everyone, just to give introduction about myself, I'm Aditya, part of 2020 Bangalore cohort, or maybe you can say the COVID batch, right? So I was part of that batch. I come with a 12 years plus of experience across various domains, but mainly I have been a startup guy and have spent 12 years building and creating startups. Currently working with a company called Cropin, which is an agri-tech company. And yeah, so that's more about me over what all I have done. maybe I'll keep it short for now. We can have a longer discussion later. Yeah. So over to you, Param.
Thank you, Aditya. Ayushi?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning. Not an easy task. But welcome you all. And I'm glad that you see this as an opportunity to know better about the program. I'm Ayushi Jaspal. I'm a lawyer. I'm an India qualified lawyer. I work in the space of white collar investigations in financial crimes. I'm sure you have had the opportunity to look at my LinkedIn profile, but I've had a PQE of almost a decade now in the same area. And that's about me. Over to Paramveer, and we'll take more detailed discussions on why PGP and how PGP, sooner, right after Paramveer.
Sure. Hi, thank you, Ayushi. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this forum. And I can say from my own experience, my journey to ISB began with one of these info session forums that I had attended way back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And that is when, the entire mindset shift of why not a full-time MBA and what the advantages for me as a working professional this particular format had, and together with all the other, let's call them myths and a few queries were answered by the visiting ISB team when I had this particular event, back in the years. So for me, I'm let's say now a techno-commercial professional. I've been mostly into business to business engineering domain for about 15 years, and 3 years additionally into education service space as well. So overall, I've got hard to say now, almost a 2-decade experience. Makes me the white whale here, but then again, almost 17, 18 years of experience. When I entered ISP, I had about 13 odd years, 12 to 13 years of experience. So again, we were the batch which when we had in Delhi, this was the second batch. So 2018 was the founding, and I was a part of the second PGPpro intake. And so most of my work life has been into international assignments on manufacturing domains. And then once I was back to India, I was also a part of a startup into education sector, not an ed tech, but a proper brick and mortar education service sector as well. And once from that, I have recently switched back into my manufacturing hat domain. And that is where I'm working with one of the premier suppliers here for stainless steel products, being the main theme being to have a corrosion resistant free and a world to last forever. So that is something which I strongly believe in sustainability, and that is what has been my work profile journey as well. And we can talk about it as we go along in the discussion as well. So welcome all of you.
Thank you, Paramveer. And I must say, what a contrast of profiles that we have today on the panel. So I think the session is going to be really, really interesting. So while I have you on the mic, Paramveer, you already mentioned that you had, you were thinking when you joined PGPpro, you had some questions in the mind which were answered by the team. But then if you had to, kind of share what exactly was it that, what is it at that point of time in your career because of which you were thinking of pursuing MBA? And then how did you, end up zeroing at PGPpro? What was the thought process going behind at that point of time that led to an MBA decision?
So, Amrita, at that time, when I thought about doing an MBA, I will share with you that so I've done my engineering in India, and that was way back 2001, 2005. So I'm a 2005 batch engineering graduate, and soon thereafter I did my master's from the UK, and after that I started working in engineering field. And having worked across Europe and US, I came back with the same company to India, and I was working with the same firm. And what happens in India, especially, we see once you've worked in a particular sector for, let's say, 8 to 10 years, you get branded as that sector person. So lateral movements in the same function, but across industries, aren't so common in India as common they are abroad. And this was one very important factor that was playing in my mind, that if I want to stay in India, but I want to pivot out of the industry that I'm in, then I need to have a certain, let's say, knowledge base, and at the same time, an MBA, let's call it, a management professional degree, which helps me to catapult my career and my learning. Because the other factor which I had, let's say, thought of was that after my engineering and masters, it was already a gap of 10 years that I had upgraded myself. So that gap of 10, 11 years. So I did my engineering in 2005, masters 2006. And then from 2006 till 2018, when I started PGPpro, there was a gap of 10 to 12 years. And that's a big gap in today's day and age without upskilling yourself. So the main thing for me was upskilling myself, and at the same time, do it with an intent of pivoting out of the industry, if at all. And so these were the two major factors that I was factoring in while choosing a program and while choosing the institution as well. So to be honest, I started thinking about ISB way back in 2014-15 with the PGP. But once you're at work, years, months flow by very fast. And before I knew it, I was already in 2017 with the one attempted incomplete application for a PGP. So, and then in 2017, I thought, okay, whilst not wasting any more time, I got to know about PGPpro, and this was something which really fit the bill. And once the application procedure was made, I started speaking with my friends in India and friends abroad, because a 1-year executive MBA was brand new for India. But abroad, if you see King's College, Imperial, Cornell, everybody had it. So once I spoke to those particular, let's say, peers as well, they were really encouraging of this particular format and the advantages it brought to them. And ISB is known to bring out educational, let's say, shifts. With the 1-year PGP, it brought a shift. So it already had something, it already had that particular, I would say, the trust factor. So because the first 2-3 batches, many of you would have heard the term early adopters. So people, who queue in outside the iPhone store to get that phone without knowing uska feature is something, groundbreaking, or it's just the same old phone in a refurbished titanium case, like people are saying. So first 2-3 batches have to take that risk. So I took that risk, got the admission, and that's when my journey started. So, but the desire to upskill myself, the desire to eventually make an industry shift, and in a way to, let's say, future-proof myself for a longer managerial career. So these were the 2-3 factors which prompted me to choose an MBA. And the program module, the 18-month module, which I could do over, let's say, at ISB, this was something which was a big, I would say, a positive impact, because then you get to network with all the ISBs as well. So once you're in, you're an MBA, you're not treated as a PGP or a PGPpro or a PGP Max. So there are different nuances and differences, but your overall branding, your overall learning, and your oversight to the outside world is also of an MBA. So from that aspect, it fit my bill, and that's how I got my PGPpro journey started.
Thank you, Paramveer. And I think that answers a lot of questions, very frequently asked questions that we get as admissions team as to which and how between different programs at ISB, which one to choose and how to choose. There are more questions to that I will ask you a little bit later. But before that, Ayushi, the same question to you. What was your thought process, and how did you kind of end up finalizing joining PGPpro?
Okay, so thank you. Say for lawyers, MBA is not a sure shot, next master's event that we look forward to. So it was very difficult for me, and it took a few years to decide whether I want to do an LLM, which is, the master's for law, or I want to go ahead with an MBA. When I was thinking of this, I was 6-7 years into the system, and I realized that the value that an MBA would bring instead of an LLM, even though I had, an offer to join BCL from Oxford at one point of time when I had applied, and this was back in 2019. I thought it would be better that I do an MBA instead of going for an LLM, because it would have derailed me. There is no recognized well-to-do masters in law, which is sort of works on opportunity cost the way an MBA executive education does. And then second idea was that because as lawyers, we have a very myopic view of the world. We do not know how business, how operations really function. And this space that I had chosen to work in, which is white collar investigations and compliance work, which basically means I do, we are appointed by the boards of public companies and private companies in India and also abroad. I also do cross-border investigations. And it entails that, so if you've heard of the matter where, Chanda Kochar from ICICI was removed, right? So, and then, when the NBFC fraud, which was related to, credit rating agencies and ILFS. So I was part of those internal investigations team, right? So that's the kind of work that I do. And now to move to the next level, where my everyday communication was with the board of directors of, public companies or the C-suite itself, I thought that it was very important that as a lawyer, I understand and I understood their lingo, I understood their everyday problems, and I could help them in their ways to be able to navigate those risks, which were not just related to legal risks. And that's when I thought that it would give me a better edge, a more cutting edge than an everyday LLM, to be able to get into the minds of people who are running companies, who are taking decisions which affect all of us, to be able to actually help them and counsel them, right? And it made more sense to, like I said, coming from a very myopic view of whenever you're, as a lawyer, you're faced with a problem when, it's compliance versus non-compliance, you do not help them navigate. You do not know how to, as a lawyer, I never knew how to use data analytics per se or how to leverage it. And these are the subjects that I learned, right? I learned about how to make decisions in terms of decision trees, or how to use probability and data in an everyday legal situation as well. So when I made this decision, I wasn't aware that I would come about learning so much, not only from class, but also from peer interaction and from networking, which is the larger goal of an MBA and works very well for lawyers. But these were two main aspects. One was, which master's is better for me. It wasn't more so from a full-time MBA versus an executive education, but an LLM versus a full-time an executive MBA education. And second was, what was the actual value that an MBA would bring to me. And then, in India, it worked very well. By the time that I planned to join an MBA, ISB PGPpro had sort of, settled its foot in the market. And I attended a few sessions like these as well, where my answers were, my questions were readily answered in terms of whether PGP has the same value as the other suite programs from the ISB, and how it is actually taken by the industry, even though, my industry doesn't really recognize an MBA and wouldn't give you a push right away. And you won't have stars. I still don't have stars on my, on my shoulders, any additional stars, so to say. But the way it has enhanced the experience of my clients, I think it's a long-term investment for me, but it works for the reasons that I joined this particular MBA. I think I've come through.
Thank you, Aisha. That was very insightful. And I will come back to this question again as to, now that all of you have mentioned that these were the expectations that you came in the program with, and how they were met, and how did you go about fulfilling them during the program and after the program. So I'll come back to that. But before, we move on, Aditya, same question to you. Yeah. Again, what was your thought process and how did you, decide on PGP?
Thanks, Amrita. So my thought process was slightly different because as I told you, right, I come from a startup background and have been an entrepreneur. So the way things are done in startup or say in entrepreneurships are not very structured, right? So you are in so much hurry to build things, and what you are doing, you don't know if it is right or wrong, or say right or wrong, or say if it in a structured manner. So one of the
Aditya, your voice is breaking up a bit.
most important element. Oh, am I audible right now?
Yeah, better.
Really sorry. Yeah. So as I told you, right, so being an entrepreneur and in the startup domain, a lot of things have been unstructured throughout. So one of the major reasons for me to do an MBA was to bring, say, entire structure towards the business operations of things, right, with a formal education. And what was happening is that someone who comes with, say, a 10-year, 12-year of experience, I was actually aspiring for more and more leadership roles. And I felt that an MBA would actually supplement my professional experience that I have across all these years with a proper formal backing. So that was, these were the two major reasons. And I thought that PGP Pro was the right platform for me, considering the kind of, say, the entire the way the entire course has been structured, right? So these have been two reasons for me.
Sure, Aditya. And there's another question, which is, kind of a tail question to what we have been discussing. When we talked a little bit about different programs, PGP, PGP Pro, and PGP Max, this was one of the questions that we received when we were soliciting registrations and asking if participants had any questions from the panelists. And one of the questions that came up was between PGP Pro and PGP Max. Now, Aditya, you and Parmveer, you both, I think both of you were eligible at that point of time for both the programs. So how did you go about making a decision between the two?
Yeah, so I think PGP Pro was more comfortable for me since I'm from Bangalore. The classes were happening in Bangalore over the weekend rather than traveling to, say, Hyderabad for PGP Max. And then if you see the structure, how the courses have been structured, right? So PGP Max has a different structure, though the curriculum might be more or less similar or there could be overlaps. But the way the course has been structured for PGP Pro, I think it was much better for me to, say, be in Bangalore, attend the course, and say start implementing the things from next day onwards, right? So that was one of the major reasons for me to choose PGP Pro. And I felt that in terms of also, say, the cohort, I feel that the PGP Pro was more relevant for me, because I have seen that mostly people from, say, the average size would be 8 to 12 years of experience, right? So that was very apt for me.
Sure, Aditya.
Yeah. So for me, the distinction between Pro and Max was basically also from a practical standpoint. That PGP Max, the engagement was on a level of, I think it's a 5-week break and then a 1-week class. So whereas PGP Pro was slightly more, let's say, hands-on, when you could work during the week and do the classes over the weekend. So for me, getting those, I think the week off that we needed in almost every 5 to 6 weeks, that was a big challenge because of the role and the team that I had. And that is why this particular format was suiting me well. And the main distinction of, how at least I in my head made for these three programs was that PGP is basically on how to do it. How do you do stuff? How do you make a go-to-market plan? How do you do the market research? PGP Pro is, let's say, what's to be done in terms of, what techniques, when you call business analysis, or so there's so many things you could do, let's say in terms of when you're benchmarking competitors, or where you're, devising strategies. So many techniques are there. So to get an overview, an in-depth overview on many things, PGP Pro helps you in that. And PGP Max, how I had, let's say, said it was, why do we do that? PGP Pro is also why, but PGP Max is slightly more macro level. It is for people with at least 15 or 20 years of experience. So at that level, you really don't need to know how to run a regression model. You really don't know, need to know on how to sort of, let's say, get your let's say Excel model working, and as beautifully as it could. But you have the vision of what needs to be done, and how it needs to be done can be done with your team. You need to select a team which is capable enough to carry on your vision. So and the stage of career which I was, I thought that the why part was still slightly away, and I needed more hands-on experience. So like the PGPs also have an immersive experience in doing all of these. PGP pros also do get it, but obviously in a much more shorter capsule mode. But having said that, when you're already, let's say like Aditya said, 8, 10, 12 years of work experience, most probably you will be having a team with you or an associate with you who will be, I wouldn't shy away from saying, faster and better than you at carrying those tasks. They will be. So, no harm in admitting it. They will be faster at doing certain things. But when it comes to strategizing, reading behind the scenes, on what all things to be done, that is something which, when I looked at the content, when I looked at people's profiles of who was doing a one-year MBA versus who was doing a full-time MBA, not just India, but globally, it made sense. And that is how I zeroed it on the PGPpro for me.
Thank you, Paramveer, for that. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question that we wanted to discuss. Understandably, PGPpro is a rigorous program. 18 months, it's a rigorous curriculum that it follows. And all of you, of course, did it alongside with your profession. So how did you go about managing it? How tough or easy it was to navigate those 18 months? So if you could just shed some light on that, because this is also one of the most frequently asked questions that we have. How do you go about really managing such a rigorous program alongside with your, work and personal commitments? Starting with Ayushi, if you could just share your experiences and how did you go about managing your time during that period?
So it's no one said it's going to be easy, and it's not easy. It's anything but easy. I think those were the toughest 18 months of my life. My job particularly is of a crisis manager. My Mondays are extremely tough. It depends on how the stock market opens and how my clients are doing, and whether a disclosure that I wrote about on last Friday or Thursday, what is the impact that it has had. That said, this course gave me an insight into how to learn a particular thing over a weekend and start applying it on Monday onwards. Right. That said, it takes a lot of work, and how to manage it is largely dependent on how your working hours are, whether you have something which gives you mental peace, and whether you already have your life as balanced as it could be, because it's like 18 months are cyclonic. One has to ensure that they're exercising well. One has to ensure that they're eating well, because you're eating outside a lot. You are partying a lot with your friends. You are at least studying for 3 to 4 hours every single day to be able to make it through the assessment courses, exams, before the class preparations. And I think the only way to get through it is whenever there is an opportunity to rest, which is, how the course is managed, at least my course was managed, is that we had, for each term, you have 2 sort of subjects. And each subject, the way it starts is that you have 2 online sessions and then 2 in-class sessions. So when there are online sessions, those are not for like an entire day. Those are like for 4 or 5 hours. And take the time, absorb, read as much, but do take rest, because it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And the only way that you'd be able to actually focus by the time you reach your 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th semester, which is trimester terms, which are basically your, special courses. It could be finance or marketing. It's important that you have enough energy saved in you to be able to sail through it because all you have been learning through the first part of the course is what you would apply in the last part of the course. And it gets way more technical, it gets way more tricky, and exhaustion really catches up with you. So, but rest assured, when you come out of this, everyone in my industry says that, if you could do this, if you could do a law firm job and you could do an MBA, which was the syllabus, you could take on anything in life. I mean, rest assured, I could promise you, I could give out a word like that. One could do anything once they have done this through with a particular job. Well, they have managed their family commitments, they've managed work commitments, and they've been able to manage the commitments which come with this course. So exercise has really helped me. Eating right has really helped me. Ensuring that, whatever your way of managing your mental pieces, that's something that's you do regularly. And whenever there is an opportunity to rest, please rest, because like I said, it's a marathon. You could do one subject very well, but a subject that may be very difficult for you, for example, for me, leveraging data analytics was something which was absolutely new, and I did not come from a technical background. And the course right before that, I worked really, really hard, and even though it was an easy course for me, and when leveraging data analytics came in, I was tired because I did not take enough rest. So you have to manage your pit stops as well. And that's the only way that this can be done well and done the way that it's required to be done.
Thank you, Aishu. Anything that you would like to add, Aditya, Paramveer? And also, because PGPpro cohorts are very diverse in nature, how was the peer interaction? How were you able to leverage your cohort strengths in certain subjects, and possibly, if you were able to lend support in certain subjects, how was that experience like?
Aditya, would you like to take that question?
Yeah. So, so there have been multiple folks, right? Amrita, as you said, and I was able to, I was just, all the memories just came past, as Ayushi was saying, because the course is very rigorous, right? And honestly, it needs a lot of commitment and dedication, and you have to be mentally prepared for it. Though initially you feel that, hey, it's a course over the weekend, you will be able to do it, but absolutely no, it does not work like that, because you'll have assignments and you'll have multiple things that you'll have to do over the entire week and be prepared for the next classes for the next weekend also, right? And over the entire week, you'll have a lot of interactions with your cohort and with all the, say, group members that you're working with. So definitely, to be really honest, something will take a hit, and most probably that will be your personal life that will surely take a hit, because you'll be spending so much time, obviously, as you already have your professional commitments, and then you'll have a lot of study pressure, and then you'll also have a lot of commitments around assignments and so on. The best part, Amrita, to bring it out, is that the kind of people you meet, right? So I had people in my cohort, people come from diverse backgrounds. So people are lawyers, people are chartered accountants. We have a lot of people from the defense background, right? So people who have served the Indian Navy for 20 years and so on. The kind of experience that they bring in, right? I also had a RJ, right? A radio jockey in my class, one of the leading Bangalore's radio jockey. So the diverse kind of experience that they bring in is very different. And I think PGPpro, or say ISB, has been able to do it really well. So you get to understand all the different domains and how various industries have been working. I actually never knew how a radio industry monetizes itself, right? And never knew that what happens, or say, how is the life of someone who has spent 20 years in Navy and then now trying to switch on to a professional career, right? So definitely there is a lot of diversity amongst peer, and that helps you in your overall transformation journey.
Thank you, Aditya, for that. Paramveer, anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think both of them have covered. Ayushi and Aditya have covered. The only thing that I would add is that there are 24 subjects. I believe still there are 24. And you will be if not a master, familiar with, let's say, half of them, whereas your other peer group will be masters of the others. So this platform is such that it's not just your learning doesn't stop after the professor session ends. Probably that's when your learning starts, because that's when the groupings that have been made by ISB in certain assignments, you get grouped differently. And so it's always a very sharp learning curve, like Ayushi said, in some subject wherein you have to seek help, and then in the other when you can lend help. And this symbiotic relation is what the PGPpro, makes it even more special, because what many people forget is that at this point of our ages, let's say, we also do not make friends that easily. But PGPpro, the 18 months of rigor, when you are spending sleepless nights, doing certain assignments in a group or individual, when you are working to study for the exam, just after having, let's say, had the classes for those particular 2 subjects just a week before, the entire let's say, journey, it brings out the best in you. It is tiring, yes, but one thing which I would say COVID has taught us is nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible in terms of, did we ever think we will not step out of our houses for 3 days? Before COVID, if somebody told me, 3 दिन घर से निकलना नहीं, I would have said, are you mad? I mean, 3 hours is, apart from when I'm sleeping, 3 hours is going to be a challenge. Leave that 3 days. And see, we were stuck home 3 months and all, God knows, for years, almost months and years, almost we were bound. So we can do it. And what happens good is that in terms of channeling how best to do, first of all, the companies where we work, they need to be made aware that we are going to be in this 18-month program, wherein this would take away all your weekends. So no weekend work should be piled up on you. And at the same time, you need to start preparing already maybe 6 months or 3 months prior to the course starting on how to delegate and selectively choose tasks which you spend the least time, but you get the most done. So a part of your time management and your, let's say, people leadership skills or team management, team working skills starts before the ISB even starts. Because you have to ensure that if there were some mundane tasks, like, just let's call it, reporting. I'm just taking one facet of people's work. Reporting on certain, weekly or a monthly, whatever people do. Is it that only you can do it, or is there somebody else who, with a little bit of an input from your side, could help you out in that? So all of these, let's say, cooperations and relations need to be built beforehand, so that you're not spending that time in doing this work, which could have been done by somebody else. So, and here the management and your existing team relations work, they play a big role. And the first 2-3 months are the hardest, obviously, because it's a system shock to you. And but then, like, we got used to staying indoors after 3-4 months. This also sinks in. By 5th or 6th month, you are very well versed on how to read fast. So if you're not into reading, first advice would be get into reading habit, because every assignment has, if not less, at least 300 to 400 pages worth of reading material. And so this is every subject we're talking about, right? This is the minimum, and the books are different. Books, if you're, let's say, that is, you call it, no, Shraddha Anusar. If you want to, please delve into the books. Honestly, I delved into certain subjects which I wanted to, because I, let's say, of the field that I was in. But then there were certain subjects, I still have the books. I don't know if they were opened also. So that being said, and that's when you take help from your peers. I remember there is a subject called Financial Accounting and Decision Making, FADM. And so that was the first time I got exposed to accounting formally. You do account, you do read balance sheets, and you do, let's say, because of when you're working for 7, 8, 10 years, you come across the financial terms, the ratios and everything you do come across, but you never sit back and see how it's worked out, right? So FADM exposed us to the workings of this particular subject. And as expected, it was exhaustion. Because, here I've got my CA friends sitting there, they're having a merry time. And here, there were a few engineers like us and non-engineers, IT people sitting and, they were scratching our brains. Hua kya? As simple concepts and credit and debit, it baffles you the first, because the point is you get it taught over 2 days, right? 2 days, long hours. So that's where we had one of my batchmates. He was a CA. He was a lawyer. He had the moment he joined the course, he had a 2-month baby girl, and he entered PGPpro. And we all were baffled. Why are you doing this to yourself? And four challenging tasks in one go. But somehow he managed to, and he. All credit to the professor that he made the base. But then after the professor's class was over, at about 11:30 p.m., this was our first, let's say, orientation week in Mohali, I believe. Yes, in Mohali, ISB Mohali. At 11:30 p.m., he goes to the drawing board, and then he starts explaining us the subject and how to make a balance sheet. Mind you, that 1 hour has made my learning so much better of that particular subject, and all because I could help. So he was good enough to lend his help to all the class members. So all of us, 26 of us, were sitting, and he was the one explaining like a professor to us, because it was his subject. So this is what also helps us a lot, and this is where we need to be proactive in understanding which are your strength areas where you can lend some help. Because if you keep sitting and expecting that somebody will come and give their expertise to us, that might not happen, because it's any which way, it's give and take. So people also, they become comfortable once they see somebody else is doing it. So that is something which I would say was really key in our cohort as well. Like Aditya said, very diverse, and diversity is also the beauty of the PGPpro structure overall, where I think, the ISB admissions team also does a lot of brainstorming on how to keep the diversity quotient very well balanced. So that main aspect is not just, that IITians and let's say, people from, let's say, highest degrees are the ones most fitting. Here, I would say the most fitting are who are willing to learn and willing to share. So because if peer-to-peer learning is not going to happen, then there's no point in doing an MBA. So that is what, in my view, works best for ISB as well.
Thank you, Parmveer, for that insight. And before we move on, I just want to share with everyone that Ayushi has a hard stop at 12. And before we let her go from the session, there's one very important question that I actually want to pose to all of you. Initially, Parmveer indeed mentioned that between a full-time program or an executive MBA, what his experience has been, in a very short, manner. But then there's a common notion that executive MBA kind of does not add the kind of value to a person's profile as a full-time MBA would. So what has been your experience during and after the program? Like how well, if you had an industry interaction or an interaction probably within the leaders in your organization, how well it was recognized, and what were the early impacts that you were able to see and after the program as well? So from that point of view, within the industry itself, how do you think, the industry acceptance is within the organization and outside as well, if you have had any, experiences with that, starting with Ayushi?
Hi, thank you. So I'd be very, very honest here. So for ISB, there is a flagship program, which is PGP, and then there is executive programs like PGPpro and PGP Max. And while in terms of course syllabus and curriculum, I don't think there is much difference in terms of, what you learn. And I don't think that ISB, the discriminates in terms of the faculty members. In fact, we had some great faculty members coming from Kellogg's and Fletcher to teach us, at times in person as well, because we were right after COVID. It wasn't always a possibility. There were travel restrictions from other countries too. But we had that opportunity, and we were taught by some of the best faculties at ISB as well, who are world class and recognized all over. So now in terms of industry recognition, see, for my industry, like I said, MBA particularly is not something that is as recognized as a master in laws. But at the same time, in your own organization, people who are working with you, your boss, etc., they see you going through a certain journey. They see you bringing extremely novel points to an ongoing discussion and bringing in your expertise in terms of what's not myopic, what's not traditional. And that adds a lot of value in terms of how you could grow in the same organization. In terms of industry, I do think that it's important, like Paramveer also mentioned, that practicality of what works for you in terms of choosing the right course, right? So if you have a year and a half, or whatever the timeline is for PGP, there is no experience like staying in the campus and studying firsthand and being that indulged into subjects and learning per se. But at the same time, when you are concerned about the opportunity costs and having a family to manage, or having kids to manage, or you have old parents and you cannot let go of a source of income, then the choice becomes between the two executive options, course options that you have, PGPpro or PGP Max, and which works for you better also in terms of what you're looking at. Again, like Paramveer very clearly mentioned, Max is a more macro level course versus Pro is something that you do at when you are in the middle management, right? You'd be able to add value to your learning, to your to the projects that you're working on, to the assignments that you're working on, and how you want to progress your career trajectory. That could be put on fast track, I think, not only in terms of learning, but peer interaction and networking, all three together can give you that kind of push. Now, having said about industry recognition of the 2-3 courses, I would say that how a PGP, the flagship program is, and that's my own experience, and it could differ from industry to industry and person to person, but there is a separate recognition to how PGP is perceived. Also because, most people who do PGP are much younger than a middle management or a senior management personnel. So they could start afresh. There is more career options that they are that they can perceive, that they can look to like one could be a lawyer, and then if I graduated in 13 and I started doing a PGP in 15, I still had an option to become a banker or an investment banker, or going into data. That was still a possibility. But now that I have been in this space for 7-8 years, it doesn't make sense to let go of a career, a dominant skill that I have worked on for all these years, and then choose on a new thing and work from the very scratch. So having a clear idea about why you want to do an MBA and what are your life situations really help you decide in terms of which program you want to go to. And that goes for both the flagship program and the executive education options that you have. And at the same time, while ISB does not discriminate, there is a certain experiential factor that cannot be avoided when it comes to what PGP, the flagship program, brings in versus the executive education. But executive education also helps in a lot of way, like, it helped me to continue working. I had a great increment package right after my MBA, and I am coming from a legal field where an MBA is not even recognized, right? Like something that would really put stars. It did not put stars, but the kind of education learning network that I could bring in, that really gave me a push forward. I also started receiving the kind of offers that I wouldn't have thought I'm still a counsel at Asia Wise Legal, and I'm on partnership track, but it would perhaps take me 2 years to become a partner at this particular law firm. But at the same time, the kind of offers that I started getting just because I had an MBA on my CV, and it was while I was having an MBA, was, right away people, coming to me and giving me equity in different, law firms, saying that you become a partner with us. So the industry starts seeing you in a certain way, because of the rigorous nature of course, and this is something which is an accepted fact. I think we are far along in the PGP Pro journey too, and with Paramveer, who comes from the dark ages of PGP Pro, all of them have worked really hard, and we stand on the shoulders of giants that way. And they have done so well that this course is so well accepted and recognized. And even in an industry where an MBA itself is not recognized as much, this is the kind of push and recognition that I saw.
Thank you, Ayushi. Same question to you, Aditya.
Yeah, so I think Ayushi has covered most of the things, but honestly, in my case, it was slightly different. And what I've realized is that, say, PGP as a course is maybe more relevant for people who come with, say, less than 5 years of experience. I would put it that way, because they don't have a lot of, say, clarity in terms of what they want to do, or say not, I would not say clarity, but they are open to more options, right? That they are open to exploring a lot of things. But then people who come with, say, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years of experience, they know what industry they would like to go into. They come with a certain aspect that this is what I'm doing an MBA for. So this particular course becomes more relevant. I think honestly, I also had the same questions when I was joining PGP Pro, that, hey, should I go for PGP? You always have that question, knowing that you will not be able to go for PGP because you don't want to compromise on that 1 year of work, right? But at the back of your mind, you always have that question that, hey, is PGP the course which is more relevant and recognized by the industry? Maybe yes and maybe no, because what happens is that, especially for someone like me, right, who comes from a startup background, you are actually seen, obviously, say the degrees do matter, but it is mainly the work that matters a lot, right? And what you bring on the table. The best part of PGP Pro that I like is, you do PGP, or say you do any MBA when you are doing an in-campus experience. That's like a year-long or a 2-year-long program. You learn everything, and then you come in the industry. What happens with PGP Pro is that you are learning over the weekend and bringing the same experience in the industry during the next week, right? And you are also so closely connected with your peers and professors that if you come across any challenges in implementing those things, right, you have the opportunity to immediately go back, rectify, and, say, bring those changes to your work, right? So that's the best thing that I like about the course, that you are able to implement things immediately rather than waiting for the entire course to get over.
Sure. Thank you, Aditya. Anything that you would like to add, Paramveer? How was the industry acceptance?
So, let's say, to be honest, if you're going into consulting field where they get applications by thousands, not hundreds, they have a very clear form, wherein you have to enter your details online. And in that, they ask you about your MBA or whatever degree it was. Was it full-time? Was it part-time? Was it, so, and many a times at earlier roles, let's say early, let's call it 0 to 5 year experience roles. This might become a barrier to entry, right? But PGP Pro ideally is not meant for people who are less than 5 years of experience. So it's the agency problem here. That once you want to apply as an associate, for which also fresh graduates or 2-year work experience people will also be applying, who've got much more hands-on experience and skills as compared to PGP Pro might have with a longer experience in a different industry. And if you're eyeing for an industry shift, then you are at a disadvantage. But for example, if you are Now, with PGPpro, what happens, you're basically targeting middle management, right? So middle management hirings also happen with a lot of word of mouth, with a lot of networking. So I am yet to find any major interesting company that my peer group was looking for, where we did not have an ISB alum in it. Now, it could be an ISB alum of PGPpro, or PGP Max even. So the moment, now when it comes to for example, you identify, I'll just take a random company's name. Let's say, Hero Motors is anyways a very big company like Airtel and all. But if somebody wants to go into that particular arena, you will find alums over there as well. And that is how the best way to break that or make that disadvantage into an advantage is that you get connected through that alum to the HR and then explain, because many people still won't be knowing. So now, let's say 2018 batch till 23, 5 years have made a sea change of a difference, right? In terms of people accepting, because they are knowing. Firstly, the problem was India was not knowing about this 1-year MBA, let's say the weekend module of the MBA program. Now they are getting used to it. And as more and more of PGP pros come out of the system and get placed into the industry, the more and more acceptance will be. So, for example, in my batch, we had about 75 between Hyderabad and Delhi. I think the same number was prior to us as well. And but now I believe with 4 locations, we're almost close to 150 to 200 PGP pros coming out every year, right? So now imagine the scale of spread. It's like a positive contagion, that we're placing almost 200 PGP pros in different industries at middle management, if not already senior management levels. So this is something which will be of really key help when it comes to us going out after our program, networking, and finding suitable jobs. But if you were to say, I want to compete for the associate role at McKinsey or BCG, and do I stand an equal ground? The frank answer will be no, because there they will ask you, do you have a full-time MBA or do you have a modular MBA? And your answer will be modular. And there's a high chance that they might just say, okay, for us, modular MBA, because of whatever thought processes their HR has had. They have to make gates, right? Because they can't sieve through all applications. So that's why they have the gate of this modular MBA versus a full-time MBA. The way to break it would be, if you're really interested in joining McKinsey, BCG, or the big fours of any accounting or consultancy firms, catch hold of an alum and make your way through that, so that at least they can guide you through to the correct HR person and all, who would be able to talk to you slightly in a better manner.
Sure, thank you, Parmveer. And I'll have more questions on that about how you go about networking within the community. But before we move on to that, I would like to bring in Ayushi once again, as Ayushi has a hard stop at 12. We are already over short time for her. But thank you, Ayushi, so much for joining in the session. Today's participants are a mix of people who are thinking of joining PGPpro and students who have already joined and are waiting, taken admission and are waiting to join the program in January for Mumbai and Bangalore. So I would just request you to maybe share a word of advice for both the groups as to, people who are waiting to join in January. What would be your suggestion for them to do in the next couple of months to prepare for the coming 18 months of their journey? And for people who are wanting to apply or thinking of applying, what would be your advice to them?
Thank you, Amrita. I think everyone needs to start brushing up on their reading habits and learn about speed reading more than anything else. And I really hope to see you on the other side. I hope you guys make a right decision for yourself. And that said, I really do hope that we see you as alumni and part of our group very soon. If there are any follow-up questions which could be directed to me specifically, I'd be happy to take it. You may direct those questions to Amrita for now, and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for your time again. My apologies for having to leave. I do have a flight to catch. There is an event actually in Delhi that's happening, which is Abhyuday, which is PGPpro's annual fest, and alumni and students, current students, are invited there. So again, if you do plan to join, we'll see you soon, and have a lovely weekend ahead. Thank you so much, Aditya, Paramveer, and the moderators. Take care.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much,
great
Ayush.
time at Abhyuday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we will continue the discussion with Aditya and Paramveer, and taking a segue from the same point that you were talking about, Paramveer, about the networking part of it, right? What we have observed within the community in PGPpro, or rather ISP community itself, the network is quite strong as we see. And, how is it like from a person who is sitting outside, who's not yet a part of the community, for them, they like understanding what networking is, or how do they go about effectively doing that within the community, right? What are the avenues, what are the channels that students and alums can explore, and what have been the channels through which you have been an active part of the community after completing the program? If you could just shed some light on that, that I think would help them understand, because they're not yet inside, so they don't know.
Sure. So when it comes to networking, if you remember, networking also was one of my 3 main pointers why I wanted to pursue an MBA, right? Because this is something that I would say you will not get outside, even after you try for years and years at a go, right? So, for example, if we call about, there are so many founders who are ISB alums. You could keep on CEOs of Swiggy, the founder for Boat. There's so many people. There's just too many, right? So now imagine that you want to approach them as a non-ISB, let's say, person. You'll be 1 in a million. But now you want to approach them as with the ISB tag on you, as an alum, fellow student, fellow alum, whatnot. Suddenly the pool reduces to a few thousand people. So right from where, crores of people would be hounding them to, let's say, a few thousand people, you're in a select pool. Let's call it a club. So that club, exclusive membership to the club, is what you get when you do any ISP program. And so far, I have been also lucky to get connected with these people, and they have responded very generously and warmly, very warmly. It also comes with the responsibility. For example, if you've got somebody's number, if you've got somebody's direct, coordinate, you should not be spreading it all out wide, because that is when, imagine if you were in that position and you start to get spammed and hounded, then you would also feel to go back, pull back a little bit. So that kind of, I would say, sensibility, every one of all of us would have. And the main factor is now, once I joined ISP, you've got different city chapters also. So I was based in Delhi after I joined, after I left ISP, I joined a company in Delhi. And we have a fantastic Delhi chapter. So I was part of the Delhi chapter. Prior to that, whilst I was doing my MBA, I was based in Gujarat, and we have a Gujarat chapter as well. And, there are hundreds of people. Delhi has thousands. Gujarat also has hundreds of people in it. Ahmedabad is full of them, ISBN that are working at Adani, working at many other reputed firms, owning businesses, entrepreneurs, everybody is there. So you already get a connect of these people on a first-hand basis. Here the ISP's Alumni Association is very active also in promoting regular meetups amongst the alumni, not the current students only, amongst the alumni as well. So in Delhi, I believe there is an event happening tonight. So I'm having a bit of a FOMO now, because I'm sitting here in Gujarat and these guys are going to be enjoying tonight in Delhi. So this kind of, I would say, camaraderie platform is also what you get with ISB. And having said this, I'm not saying that the other B schools would not be having it. but ISB does it in a slightly more coordinated and a slightly more prevailing manner. That because it's all run by students. Okay, first thing is it's all governed, run, executed by students, alums. So as alums, if you are quite enthusiastic about meeting people, being in touch, you will develop programs. For example, Abhyuday was the flagship program. It's a let's say this was started by the 2019 cohort. So the Delhi edition was the first one which we did, and so I was there, and then there were a bunch of other team members who were there. We conceptualized Abhyuday, and we told ISB management that the visibility to the industry is something which we need to create for PGPpro. So why not have a platform which does that? And when it had started, the idea was not to have it set as a flagship annual event. But by the end of it, when the dean, I believe, during the vote of thanks, he announced then and there in Delhi that this has become, or this will become, PGPpro's flagship event to be done every year. And since then, I believe, if I'm not wrong, it's been done every year since 2019. So you see, the efforts we ourselves would take, they go miles longer as compared to just sitting and seeing how does ISB help me. ISB gives you a platform. It gives you the means, the alumni directory, for example, you'd be given access to once you graduate. So that has, no matter which country you are in, which city you are in, it's almost like, your personal ISB LinkedIn. That for example, I'm going to, let's say, now I'm going to Spain next week, and I was just checking out if we have certain alums based out of Spain from ISB, and I found a list. So you never know how let's say how wide the range of the alumni network of ISB is and how it can help you. The other thing about networking is you should not always approach with the mindset of how will it help me. It should be how mutually beneficial it can be, right? I'm not saying now that, for example, if you have to go and speak with the, let's say, the founders or the CEOs level alumni, that how do you help them? There, the approach is different. But then in general, not all ISB alumni are founders and CEOs, right? Many are doing really well at senior management positions and even at middle management positions. So there should be a common thread. So do not always, because this is something which works negative, that you approach them saying, sir, job lagwana hai. Do you have any jobs? Do you have, somewhere I can apply to? So that really puts off. That is not the purpose of networking. The purpose of networking is to be in touch, to learn, to exchange. And if some opportunity does come along, then you have a framework, a base set with that particular person to take it forward. Not just that, okay, I have this job in mind, that is why this person will help me. Then these kind of relations don't last too long. They just become, one of your LinkedIn contacts, one of the thousands that you may be adding. So that is not the best way to approach networking within the ISB community, I would say.
Thank you. Very well said, Parmveer, I would say. Aditya, your thoughts on that, or your experiences?
So I think I agree to most of the things that Paramveer said. And just to add on, right, what I've realized is that over a period of time, what happens is that ISB has built that culture of giving back, right? So you as an alum, you feel obliged to help your peers or your fellow alums or say aspiring students and people of the community. So irrespective of the position or say the stature in the society the alums would have reached, if there is a request from a fellow alum which goes to them, right, they actually give you time, right? So I have personally experienced that. I have reached out to a couple of VCs where I needed some help for my startups, and it's really tough if you are just going as another startup founder, right? But if you are going as an ISB alum, they give you an opportunity to listen, right? They give you that right, that mind space that, okay, he or she is a fellow alum and I need to talk to them, right? So that's the kind of responsibility that ISB creates, which is giving back to your fellow alums. And you don't feel you don't feel it that it's a pressure for you, right? So that's something that I really appreciate that ISB has created over a period of time.
Thank you, Aditya. And I couldn't agree more. If I just take an example of today, I was just thinking while you were speaking, we have a panel running here today, all of you participating, Ayushi participating here and then traveling to Abhyodaya. Then Abhyodaya happening in Delhi at the same time. Mumbai and Bangalore, we are having admission interviews running. So we do see participation of alums, not just within the alum community. In fact, as you mentioned, helping prospective students, participating in several things. So amazing it is how well and how closely knit the community is.
Yeah, because the idea is that all of us, right? I'm sure that say whatever 50, 60 participants are there over here, we have gone through the same phase, say 2 years, 3 years back, and we would want to share our experience so that everyone over here could make the right decision for them, right?
Right, absolutely, Aditya. Thank you so much for your insight. Okay, so with that, I think there's one more question that I want to put across, which is something that, it's more about a term, which is ROI, which is something, again, running at the back of everyone's mind. But how do you really, because it's so subjective, it's so, I would say, relevant to each individual for themselves. So how would you say, because PGPpro, of course, we have had established, how the careers are impacted, or your careers have got impacted in the session so far. But since PGPpro does not offer campus placements, right? If you would like to share any example, any experience of yourself, or any example from your friends, from your cohorts, how has it worked out, and what do you, in fact, how would you, I would rather say, define ROI, and how has, I would say, the program help you meet that ROI? So, Paramveer, Aditya, anyone who would like to take? Yeah.
Sure. Maybe Paramveer, I can go first. Yeah. Honestly, our batch was one of those batches where ROI was one of the major concerns, maybe not initially, but during the end of the course, because I think we were about to complete our course in April, May, and in February, COVID had struck, right? So all of us were in a limbo that now we are going to complete our MBA. We don't know what is going to happen with our careers. We don't know how ISB will be supporting us, right? So we had a lot of uncertainty across. And one of the major things, right, that ISB teaches you, and I cannot agree more, that how do you actually manage uncertainty? At that point in time, you have a lot of uncertainty. You don't know if the jobs were going, right? Forget placements, but the people who already had very good jobs, the jobs were going. And I know, like, a lot of friends, right? A lot of friends, peers from the cohort had lost jobs. But what happened is, right? And this is the beauty of ISB, or say the fellow alum network that you have built over those 18 months. People are there to support you, right? People are prompt in supporting you when you are able to bring it to them at the right time, that, hey, this is something which is happening with me. Can you please help me and help me figure out things on how I should, say, take help of the network which ISB has, right? So definitely ROI is a concern in terms of how you look at it. It's very subjective, but I feel that very difficult to understand today. But when you go through that entire transformation journey, you start realizing in terms of how you as a person are changing over a period of time, right? That gives you the overall ROI for a program like PGPpro.
Thank you, Aditya. Paramveer, your thoughts on this?
So, when it comes to this term called ROI, I don't consider ROI on education. This is investing in yourself. So, how do you take out the return on investment for something which you are future-proofing yourself, let's say, for the next 10, 15, 20 years? So, at 30, 35 lakhs, it is a costly program. Yes, it's meant for serious enthusiasts. And the cost is not just to ensure that serious people get in, but once you do get in, you will see the kind of infrastructure, the kind of faculty that you get. That is second to none. And good quality, then as now we all know, many of you must be in areas where you are in purchasing profile, supply chain, you would know that when you pay for something, you also get an equivalent quality to it. So that is what the cost element is. Now, having said that, everybody's personal circumstances are very different, right? For somebody, 35 lakhs, they might have saved, they would just invest. For somebody, they might take a full loan, they might take a part loan past self-finance. So all of these factors need to be built in. For somebody, they might already be having a home loan running, a family running with a kid on the way, or already having a family. So multiple things are there. So whilst it is a very valid thought that what is going to be my return on investment, I would still urge not to see it from that aspect of how do I repay my education in the next 3 years, because I think Ayushi said that she already got a decent hike or a good hike immediately after finishing the program. And similar stories I could also share. We can always amongst my peer networks, we had I think 1 or 2 batchmates of mine who had jumped two jobs whilst being in the program. So you'll always have cases like these, but these are, I would say, outliers. We should sort of only see we shouldn't only see the CEOs and the founders of ISB. We should also see the other let's say alums who've done relatively okay for themselves in terms of where they are at their careers. So whilst it is an important decision, just factor in that this is not for the next 2-3 years. This is placing you in a league for the next 10-15 years, and it is going to give you a network which is priceless. So I used to joke with my friends that one lecture roughly costs you about 1.5 lakh rupees. So because there will be times when you would be really sleepy after having a long night of assignments. You're sitting there in the class on Saturday or a Sunday, and you would feel to take a quick nap. You wouldn't want to, but your eyes would drool down. So we used to just nudge each other. Aaj 1.25 lakh ki class mein so gaye. So, and then the person jolts up. So it is expensive, yes, but the value is far greater. It is far greater than that. And the good thing about ISP's programs, all programs, are that there are a few network banks, which provide us collateral-free loans as well. The moment you get an ISB admit to PGP or PGPpro, I don't know about Max and all, but for Pro, I know that many of my batchmates had availed the facility of taking a collateral-free loan and having the repayment set over whatever 5, 10, whatever amount of years you want to break it up into, and whatever you're comfortable with. And that is something which, again, your planning comes into perspective. But yes, if somebody tells me I am earning now, I don't know anybody, from your side, from the audience, I don't know anybody's data. I'm just taking an example, and please don't be offended if somebody feels otherwise. If somebody's, let's say, earning currently 50,000 a month, and they take out a loan of 35 lakh rupees education, and maybe if they've got a home loan also running, maybe not the best scenario at that time, right? And that is what we said, that once you've had that 5 to 7 years of work experience, then ideally you should already be in a slightly higher salary bracket, around 1 lakh a month or something. Then it makes your life slightly easier. Your decisions are slightly easier. But if you're sitting at 40, 50,000, 60,000, and then you take up a 35 lakh rupee loan, Spread over 10 years, you might be spending 30,000-40,000 just on EMI, 30,000 EMI. How do you do that when you're only getting 30,000? You've got to live as well, eat as well. So all of those factors taken into consideration, it is a really good program. But yes, practicality also plays a big role, no? So that is something which I would say every individual then needs to take a call on their own. The ISB ecosystem, banking systems are there to support you. And I believe we also have certain scholarships as well, I think, which are merit-based scholarships are there. So there is a timing also for that one. So ISB also supports deserving candidates from that aspect. But please don't just see it as a quick return to your buck kind of. It's not a stock investment ki aaj dal ke, in 2 years time I'll double my money and all that. So please don't treat it as that. There is no value you can set to your own learning, and no value you can set to the network that you build. So don't treat ROI as the metric. Treat on how much you will learn and how much your career trajectory would take an upswing by. So the MBA which you are doing is your current work or your let's say future envisioned work. For example, if you are in an IC role right now and you are really good at it, and for some people they only want to remain in IC roles even at senior, let's say they've become seniors in that particular position, but they don't want to take on the add-on hooplas of management. Let's say, they want to just be focused on that IC role. That is for them, right? So, and does an MBA help these people or not? That is for every one of us now to figure out on our own. It might not be, then for you, maybe some other ISB course of, advanced data analytics or advanced manufacturing program, maybe that is something for you. So don't treat MBA as the holy grail that MBA kar liya to sab ho gaya. So depends on your interest area as well. And that is where the word of caution is, depending on where you want to be. If you want to be where an MBA leads you to be, then please do apply and try out. But if you know that I am very set in my thoughts where I want to be 10 years from today, then do consider, if at all, MBA is the best option or not.
Right. Thank you so much, Paramveer and Aditya. I think very valid points that you have put forward. And I think one of the reasons in the application form that we ask, why is it so comprehensive? It is often asked, why is it so comprehensive? It is for these specific reasons that, the essays are designed in a way for you to talk about your long-term and short-term objectives and whether you have a thought clarity or not. So those aspects are directly linked with your expectations out of the program. So great points there, both Paramveer and Aditya. I think we will take a pause here and see if we have any questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please do share it in the chat or raise your hands, and we can go about asking those questions in a sequential manner. Okay, I see a raise of hand from Sridhar. Sridhar, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question and let us know who the question is for?
Yeah, thanks, Amrita. Very good afternoon to everybody. Thanks, Aditya and Paramveer. So my question to Aditya. So as a startup founder, when you're doing parallelly PGPpro, how the VC community or investor community look at you, because they expect you to work dedicated on a startup, but parallelly if you are giving time, which is also a value-add program for your startup journey, startup role. What if you're a founder especially, so
Right.
what will be their point of view, whether they'll see it as a value add or just let me know your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely, Sheetar. So what I have gone through, right, and what I've realized, and not only me, I had like two more, say, peers of mine who had been startup founders during the same journey. And what all of us have observed and gone through is that the community, say, be it the VC community or be it the startup community, they take it very positively, right? It is taken very positively that you are putting an extra mile or say an extra effort to go forward, not only focus on your startup, but to make sure that you are learning a lot of new things and trying to implement, right? And the change that you go through, right, while during the program, it is very clearly visible on the other side also. So the people that you are interacting with, be it the community, be it the VCs, or say, be it other people, they are able to see that transformation that you are going through. They are able to see that sense of change that you get on the table, right? So I feel that it's very positively taken.
Okay. And my second question will be, which will be the best course for if startup founder is PGP Pro or Max? Aditya, if you can add inputs.
Again, maybe I don't know, but for me, PGP Pro was the best considering the structure, right? I don't have to travel for a week. I don't lose my work, right? It's mainly the weekends where I invest my time in learning, right? And then implementing the same thing over the weekdays. So I don't lose any opportunity cost. So PGP Pro was very well structured for me as a startup founder. Then PGP Max.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Kiran, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So maybe I joined the discussion approximately 15 to 20 minutes late. I just wanted to know how PGP Pro is gonna help someone who belongs to the IT industry, the tech industry, and who is part of the middle management. Because the specializations that are available are finance and marketing. So yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay, I would say it's a question that is very subjective to you, Kiran. It's very personalized to you. Aditya, Parmveer, if you would like to add something.
So here what I could suggest is, first of all, it's a myth that, finance and marketing don't apply to IT. Finance and marketing applies to each and every industry and function. So please don't think yourself as immune. When you are chalking out budgets, when you're talking about, team, let's say, efficiencies, it is dollar at the end of the table, right? So that is why you are doing it. So it is very valid for even senior IT professionals to know this. And now, if you want a deeper insight into it, the best way would be you write to Amrita or write to any of us. We will connect you to IT professionals, PGP Pro alums, and they would be the best ones to understand and guide you onto it. Because I would not want to delve into and make things and let's say make it less serious, because my let's say our experience would be from an overall macro level perspective. But if you really would say certain trainings vis-a-vis a PGP Pro, certain accreditations vis-a-vis a PGP Pro, or how does PGP Pro along with those accreditations help me? So all of these, that particular person, and there are plenty. I don't know about you, Aditya. I think IT in 2019 batch, there would be, if out of the 75, 30 were IT background, 25 to 30 were IT. So you'll have a whole list of people available, Kiran, you could speak to, at least from my batch, and then till now, maybe hundreds.
Sure.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
will help, Parmesh. Thank you so much.
So do write back, Kiran, with a very brief profile of yourself, and we will try and connect you with the alums from a similar background that can help you, understand the fitment better, as well as, from the industry point of view, from the role point of view. But just to add on one point, PGP Pro is a general management program. It's not very specific to marketing or finance. So I would also urge you to have a look at the curriculum. It's there on the website. I think that will also give you a deeper perspective of what to expect academically out of the program. So do have a look on that and do write back to me, and I'll connect you with the right alums. And as Parmveer mentioned rightly, in the last cohort itself, we just did an analysis. About 30% of the cohort was from IT industry background, from products and services sector. So there are quite a good number of alums from that domain.
Very interesting question Imran has put on the group. What percentage of students leave the course in the middle due to unsuitability? So Imran, I think for 2018, there were 2 dropouts, but right in the beginning. So, right, I think one at boot camp and one after the first class or something. They had a personal situation which has arisen. But one, right, so I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a max boot camp which happens just before the start of the course. So
It's not there anymore, Parmveer. It
okay.
has been removed. Yeah.
Because so that was that was the casualty point. So there people really got the jolt of their lives. Okay, is this in store for us for the next 18 months? So I in my batch there was only one. I haven't heard of actually many dropping out. Maybe you could correct me, Amrita, but
Yeah.
I don't think so. There are many who drop out.
Yeah, same. Even I don't remember anybody in particular who has dropped out in the middle of the program. Some people have been there who have taken leave of absence for 1 year or so.
Definitely.
And then they have joined in the next cohort because of personal reasons or whichever. They just wanted to take a break during the program. But
I think that is one of the important things, right? As Amrita pointed out, leave of absence. So say, for example, if there is something really unforeseen, which not unforeseen, or say if there is something which is going on in your personal life, right? If you are going to have a baby or there is a work commitment which you have and you have already done your 8 months of course or 9 months of course, there is a leave of absence which ASB allows you or grants you so that you can continue the course with as part of the next batch. That's the flexibility.
Talinga, you have a question about the international immersion. So international immersion, we went to NUS, National University of Singapore. We had 2 modules over there, global strategic management and one on entrepreneurship, if I'm not wrong. And these were what you learn there is let's say, because see, theory remains the same, whether being taught in India or being taught elsewhere. But what the good part was that we had alums of NUS and professors from there sharing what was happening in certain fields in Singapore's ecosystem. So when you get exposed to that particular, let's say, real life scenario, that is something which you also add on, you build on to. And the second and the most important factor, at least for me personally, was that when you are 2 cohorts, we were Delhi and Hyderabad were running parallelly, but we weren't physically meeting. So the international immersion becomes the point wherein you intersect. So that 1 week, immediately you see that from Delhi ka 26 and Hyderabad ka 50, you become the 2019 cohort of 76 people. So it's not just, small batches anymore. Then the immersion also acts as a catalyst for, let's say, between the locations, the networking happens in a much better way. So that is how I would say, the immersion helped us, or me personally, not just from an academic learning standpoint, but also from a relationship in networking standpoint within the PGPpro 19.
Thank you so much, Parmveer. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Aditya, you want to take Amit's question? How do you specialize? How do you finalize the specialization between finance and marketing?
So I think very tough to say right now. It completely depends on your, say, future plans. But then what happens is I do understand from where the question would be coming, because as part of the application, you have to choose that do you want to take finance or marketing. But Amit, trust me that it's not easy to decide right now. And I agree with you. What happens is that you will go through, say, 10, 12 different courses. Post that, ISB will, I'm not sure if it still exists, but ISB does give you an opportunity to switch. If you have realized that, hey, finance is not something for me, or say marketing is not something for me, that there will be a one-time opportunity for you to switch based on say the various courses that you have attended. So you'll have a mix of all the courses from finance, from marketing that you have gone through, and then you'll be able to understand that what you are going to get into when you're doing the specialization.
And Amit, if I could add one point here, the first gate for you to select this specialization would be just go through the courses. There are 4 different courses. So 2 terms are for electives. So 2 terms means 4 courses. So you read through the course structure of those 4 subjects. And if either one of which makes slightly more sense to you with your future growth in mind, choose that for now. And for example, in finance, there is a lot about capital raising strategies, right? And I forget the other ones because I took marketing, in which there was, marketing of services, then new product development. So immediately from an IT industry, if you are somebody who would say that, okay, I'm envisioning my future path to be in the IT sector, but as a financial leader, you choose finance. But if you see yourself as a product person, as somebody who wants to, take the product to the market, to the customers, or work with the customers, work with clients, then you might want to choose marketing, because the word finance and marketing are very, you need to have an umbrella word. So then you have the words of finance and marketing, but they are much deeper. So just have a read through those 4 very distinct courses that each elective, each stream offers, and try to make sense out of those.
I'm just trying to scan through more questions.
How was the interview experience? Really friendly. So the best thing is that all of you, like we were, you were interviewed by ISB Alliance. So I think, nothing could be better than that. So it's a very friendly chat and a very candid, open discussion chat. So that is something which I would say. What about you, Aditya? Quick lineup from you.
Yeah, it's a similar experience. It is more of an interaction than an interview.
Perfect. Amrita, you want to give the ratio to Anurayan's question? Total application versus seats.
Yeah. Okay. So the applicant to intake ratio, while it keeps changing year on year, marginally it keeps changing, but it has been, if I round it off across cohorts, across cities, it's something around 3:1 that we have observed in past few years. It keeps changing, like it's some years it's 3.1, some years it's 3.2. That's very marginal change that happens, but roughly around 3:1 what we have been experiencing so far.
Regarding the cultural clubs, yes, there are clubs wherein, PGPpro also has their own. And if you are in one of the locations, let's say if you're in Hyderabad, then I don't think so there's any, let's say, if there's some event happening which a PGP is organizing, I believe you're not sort of, barred from it. But then again, you could be in a consulting club, a manufacturing club, and these exist for PGPpro as well. Essay writing.
Yeah, there is one question wherein Divya is asking some pointers on how to.
Essay writing. ISB has given you enough questions, in the form. You don't need more pointers. More pointers will make your essay longer. You need to make it short. At least that is what during my process, I knew it had to go various iterations to bring it down. Otherwise, you could write everything. And one quick pointer would be, it's kind of an insight. Whilst most of us focus on what ISB will be able to give to us, try focusing also on how you could contribute to your cohort. So, for example, you could be a data scientist who wants to do an MBA. Right now, how do you see yourself contributing to the cohort? You could be a sports personnel or a defense personnel. So whilst you can go all gaga about how ISB's MBA will help to place you in the mainstream and blah, blah, but then again, turn tables. Say my defense or my sports or my XYZ background brings this on the table. So, showcase that as well. And this is something which at least I have not seen because we take interviews as well. So we do not see this in many applications, and wherein people write about this, it gets, picked up really fast. And I think Amrita would agree there. So this is something which, because it's a it's a barter as well. So the candidates also need to make a really good, let's say, contribution addition to the cohort because of the peer-to-peer learning aspect.
Right. Anything that you would like to share, Aditya, on what participants should keep in mind while building their application?
I think I agree. Most of the points have been covered by Paramveer, right? It's very important to highlight that what you will bring on the table rather than what you will take from ISB, right? There are multiple things that you can highlight that why ISB, but why ISB also means that how you will also be able to be part of that larger community and what you will be also able to contribute, right? So that's important to bring it out.
Right. Thank you, Aditya. And I think we have covered most of the question. I see a raise of hand from Nabila. That's the last question we'll take for today. And then we'll move on to the conclusion. Nabila, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Amrita. Actually, I have two questions. One is that I am moving more towards, I was in the technical field in my industry, which is the animal industry. I have been working there for 6 years and now I'm moving into marketing. So I thought I could take up this course and that would kind of give me or leverage me towards a better career opportunity. One question that I had is if this course will help me towards that, and my other question is that if I want to change my field of course, right? My field as of now, because it's a very niche field, and if I want to change my field to say a bigger sector or something like that, will this course or will I be able to do that after I complete this course?
Maybe I can take the second question first and maybe Param, you can add on the first part. So Nabila, definitely in terms of say changing fields, it I think more depends on you. If I talk about my experience, right? Before ISB, I had like 7 to 8 years in the HR tech domain, had spent some good amount of time in the HR tech domain. Post that, I started realizing that, hey, I don't want to become a domain expert, but I want to become more of a generalist with my skill set. And that is where I got an immediate opportunity post the course to move from a HR tech domain to a agri tech domain, right? So with the same skill set, right? So the skill set remains more or less the same, but there is a lot of flexibility because at ISB, right, during the 18 months of course, you will be taught a lot of basics and fundamentals about multiple things. And that will give you an understanding or say basics of various industries. And that will also open up opportunities for you. So changing, say, domains, absolutely, it's easy with the same skill set that you bring in.
Okay.
That has been my experience. Yeah. And Param, if you want to add.
Nabila, could you just let me know the first part of the question so I can pinpoint the answer there?
Okay, so my question was that I have been working in the R&D sector of my industry for about 6 years now, and in my in the same organization that I work for, I got an opportunity to move into the marketing sector as the product manager, which I have accepted, and currently I'm doing that. So I am looking into getting an admission for the PGPpro because one thing is I don't want to let go of the source of my income is one.
Correct.
And I would like to probably learn more about the marketing aspect of my field. So I was just wondering if this course would give me that push and whether it would give me that push and leverage the kind of skills that I'm trying to learn as I enter the marketing field.
So definitely, I think you are better placed than most in this scenario because you're entering into a field where you need to develop and learn new skills, right? And what better way to learn at ISB and implement, like Aditya was saying, the very next day, if not the very next week, back at work. So this complementary learn and implement is what makes PGPpro so special. So for you, in fact, even the management would be quite appreciative of the fact that you not just have taken on a new assignment role, but now are investing into yourself to upskill yourself so that you can perform better in that role. So I would say you make a perfect candidate to apply and take the advantages from this particular program. So it works really well for you. So I would, if I were a counselor, I would say my suggestion would be definitely do make the application.
Yeah, thank you so much. That gives me a lot of encouragement. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Nabila, for your question. And I think with that, I know Roshit and Shal have raised their hands, they have their question, but we have already overshot time for today's session. Roshit and Shal, please do write back to me with your questions if we can, help you out with anything, and I'll make sure that maybe I'll connect with the three panelists today and find out the answers for you. So please do write back to me. I'll be writing to you as well after the session. You can reply back to the same email, all the participants of today's session. So I think it has been a very interesting and very insightful session so far, and a lot of questions that the participants had in mind have got answered. So to tie it all up together as a conclusion, there are a couple of questions that I would like to ask both of you, Aditya and Paramveer. One is that, initially, when we were starting the session, we did talk about certain expectations with which you entered the program at that point of time when you did. So how did eventually it turn out for you? You can maybe share a little bit until when you completed the program and after completing the program as well. How exactly those expectations were met or not, whichever way. And, also now that, you entered the program with certain skills and certain, leadership traits already, and you would have built on some during the program and after the program. So these two things, if you could, just share with the audience to tie up the entire conversation together.
Aditya, you want to go first?
Sure. So I think from my entire journey at ISB, right? So there have been two very strong points that I've taken, considering what all I have gone through in the entire journey. Number one was around how do you actually adapt to the rapidly changing business environments, right? Which is ideally the VUCA world we live in. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of things are changing around you. And there are a lot of unfavorable conditions, but definitely the course also makes you go through a lot of things, but then how do you adapt to it, right? Because once you start growing in your career and you are at a leadership level, right, and say if you are one of the CXOs of any of the companies, you will be going through this on a regular basis. So how do you deal with it? That was one of the major things, or say one of the major learnings for me. And another thing which ISB emphasizes a lot, and it helped me realize and build stronger foundation, was understanding of ethical leadership principles, right? It is very important that if you want to grow, it's important to be ethical in your leadership practices. So I think overall, to sum it up for me, these two have been very strong points that I have taken from ISB. And post the course, I feel implementing both the things have been really helping me in grow in my career till now. So I'll just keep it short considering the time, but yeah, over to you, Param.
Sure. So agreeing absolutely to what you said, just adding a little bit from my side. So what I came in was, like I said, learning, and learning is a big term. Let's break it down. Learning, I wanted to learn frameworks, techniques, which I can actually implement. You keep on reading the newspapers and McKinsey, quarterlies. So once you're reading, you already know what kind of management consulting jargons and frameworks people use. So that is something which I wanted to learn so that I'm able to put forth my ideas, my work in a better manner. So did I get value on that? Yes. And could I have had more? The answer is yes to that as well. But due to the paucity of time, you can only grab so much. So there the onus is now back to the candidate, that ISB has set forth, let's call it, out of the 100-step journey, the first 10, 15 steps ISB has put you on course for. Now it is for you, for me personally, to keep on learning after that, right? So, I mean, a very practical example could be, I mean, I didn't plant this, but see now, this is a book which, you know, at ISB, somebody told us this would be good. And we did a few techniques of these. And later on, I thought, okay, you know, I've learned this much, but there's this much to be learned. So you keep on learning. So that is how, you know, so that ISB has put that kida of learning, that you keep on learning new. So that is something I would say is the best part, because I was also away from formal education for about 11 years, right, after doing my master's. So that has something which has been cultivated back into me. So, and you keep on learning every day. So I did get, you know, what I wanted to when I entered the program, whilst I exited. The one factor which I have realized in the program, now it comes to the very apt point of networking. Now, LinkedIn, as we all know, best tool for networking, yes, but the most abused tool for networking, 100% yes. Reason being, if you are checking out somebody's profile and adding them for, let's say, you know, so this happens with ISBNs mostly, again, or any other college as well. They assume that, you know, so if I check out profile for XYZ, CEO of ABC, I assume that now I can add this person because he's my alma mater, he's from my university or whatever. Now, but what value am I going to give that person, right? So, or why am I connecting? Even if I don't want to, if I'm not able to give some value, why am I connecting? So personalizing the contacts would go a long way. So this is something which I also, you know, I had in mind prior to ISB, and at ISB it became even stronger, because once you're at ISB and once you pass out, you get hordes of ad requests, hordes, you know, and the only thing you see common is, okay, ISB or certain college or certain workplace, and you say, okay, accept. Better would be take time, you know. So for example, if I'm adding you, I would sort of take a little bit of a time to read your profile. If found interesting, then add you and just write a note. I, from a similar industry, would be great to connect and learn from each other or whatsoever, or keep abreast with your company's developments and whatnot. It just sort of, you know, puts your ad request on top of that person receiver's mind, instead, you know, in when they are scanning through the 10, 15 a day which they get. So just try to develop this habit that if you are adding somebody, just give a little bit of a context. For example, okay, Hanji, we are applying for PGPpro, would like to connect with you so that we could interact more in the future, or just got an admission into PGPpro, could we connect? Would be good. So, you know, just these 10 words, effort of writing those 10 words makes a big difference. And I've tried it. And that's why I'm just suggesting it to you that when you do network with people, keep this in mind. And I'm sure most of you would be doing it. But let's say for the benefit of those who are not, hopefully it adds a little bit of a zing to your ad request next time when you send to people.
Thank you, Paramveer and Aditya. And I think with this, we have covered a lot of questions. I see a lot of positive comments on the chat window also, that the session has been very, very insightful. We will close the session now, but before that, you know, as I mentioned with Ayushi as well, today's audience is indeed a mix of prospective applicants and students who are awaiting their joining process in January for Mumbai and Bangalore cohorts. So what would be, you know, any word of advice or suggestion that you would like to leave them with, any thought that you would like to leave the audience with, you know, today? Starting with Paramveer, maybe.
So, okay. So for the people who have already enrolled and who are about to start, the only advice, Amrita, do we give those foundation courses now?
Yes, you will give them preparatory
Please,
courses.
please do your foundation courses with folded hands. I'm requesting you. This will make a big difference in the quality of the 18 months that you're going to spend. If you do those foundation courses well and on time, your journey, the entire 18-month journey will be at 100% better level. So please do that. And to people who are still contemplating, I cannot stress enough, if we haven't already done it. There are many courses out there. Please do your due diligence on location, on parameters, which, let's say like alumni, like obviously placement does not affect us. Any factors. And here, the good thing with ISB network would be that if you approach even Allens or let's say ISB staff, they would be able to help you out with the queries, so to say. So if you still have any queries, please do know that all of us are very approachable. Feel free to connect with us. And as you would see that at least, so here all of us, all three of us, the panelists today, I believe we've answered really straight from our experiences. So what we have called an apple, orange and an orange. We haven't disguised it. So, and that is something which I believe should also give you an idea that once you enter the ISB fraternity, this is the level of openness and candor you would get and would be expected of you. So with that, I would just take your leave and wishing all of you all the very best to start the program or to start your applications if not done already. Aditya.
Yeah, thanks, Param. Yeah, definitely do work on the foundational courses, but yeah, I'm slightly of a different opinion because the next 18 months are going to be a roller coaster for you. So sit back, relax, spend time with your family. You are going to miss that for the next 18 months. And start, maybe I'm sure there could be small groups that could be forming for people who are getting selected. So start talking to our fellow cohort members, right? Start interacting with them, do small meetups. It's good to have those ice-breaking sessions before the program starts, because once the program starts, it's going to be a complete different ballgame. So start enjoying those smaller moments now. The next 18 months are going to be full of fun and work. So yeah, that's for people who are going to start the course, and absolutely for people who are planning to apply. Just make sure that you come with the right expectations so that there is not a mismatch of any expectation which is there at your end. So with that, I would also like to sign off and wishing everyone the very best. Feel free to reach out to either of us. We'll be happy to share our experiences of what we have done, how we have gone through, and how we have sailed through. So happy to share those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aditya and Paramveer. Thank you so much for taking time on Saturday afternoon and, giving this time to all the participants today and to us, of course. We do hope to see both of you and Ayushi as well sometime soon again in a similar kind of session or another session, possibly, maybe an on-ground session, in your cities. So thank you so much once again for joining us for today's session. And last but not the least, thank you all of you, the audience members, the participants, for again taking out time and engaging with us. I hope the session was very helpful. And do write back to me if you have any questions related to the program itself, application admission process. We are here. Me, myself, Smriti is here, Kia is here. So do write to us and we will make sure that you get all the answers and clarity on any doubts that you have. With that, signing off, all of us. Thank you so much once again and have a happy weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.